All right, so we have several of y'all here this morning for the mastermind event for working moms. I thought it was awesome for those that were here. I know y'all got a lot of great information. And for those that weren't, this is Wendy Papasan. Wendy Papasan is from Austin, Texas. Wendy Papasan is in bold.
Yes, I'm doing my bold 100 today.
And
I went to check my phone on the break. I had 25 calls.
I think you should ask for
Absolutely. Well, you know, I'm your go-to Austin agent. My business is about 27% agent-to-agent referral, so that's something that I specialize in. And I always get lots of agents, lots of clients coming to Houston. So what I've done over the years is kind of developed a list of agents and their Houston specialties so that I can, put the right person on the right agent. And also as incentive for giving me your business card, my husband wrote a great book. Maybe some of you have heard of it. It's called The One Thing. He wrote it with Gary Keller, the guy who started Keller Williams. And he signed this one just for you guys. It says, line up your dominoes, Jay Papasan. That's pretty special. And after this session, I think the bucket is back there, right?
Michael's got the bucket.
Michael's got the bucket.
If you have your business card, make sure you give Michael your business card. And you can't enter twice.
Yeah, don't enter twice.
Don't enter twice.
I know, I should have read 2 books.
Yeah.
I know, I should have read 2 books.
Okay, does anybody have anybody that's moving to Austin right now?
Yeah, wouldn't that be great?
Does anybody know people in Austin or have friends in Austin?
I got family.
You got family in Austin. Okay, well now you've got a great realtor to connect.
Perfect.
Connect with here. So Wendy's going to be. Before we get started, you got 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay, everyone knows it's the concert tonight. I wish it was a big agent here too, but we're doing a photo booth. And so if you come by, bring your family, bring your kids, your grandkids, your uncles, your nieces, everybody. We're going to be doing photos. And for the agents that are in our office, we're going to go ahead and post those, if you allow us to, on Facebook and say, your family to Keller Williams family, Merry Christmas, to be able to put it. So a little bit of extra advertising on our Facebook system. So we're really excited about it. We have the face painting, the craft table, the nail painting, and the photo booth going on, plus the bouncy houses and all the other stuff.
Sounds awesome.
Thanks, Cynthia. Perfect. And you only kept it to about 45 seconds. So.
Oh, God.
She's an eye. All right, so Wendy, I'm going to turn it over to you. She's going to talk to you about how to grow a big business in a short time and still have a life.
Hi. Yay. Okay, well, welcome, everyone. I see a lot of you from this morning, and I appreciate you coming back. That means I must have done an okay job. So my name is Wendy Papasan. I'm a realtor with Keller Williams. Is there anybody here who's not with Keller Williams? I know we had a guest this morning. Oh, okay, good. Well, I can throw out all the Keller-isms and everything. You guys are going to know what I'm talking about. So I have an 8-person team. I started the business right at the end of 2009. So I'm just rounding my 5th full year in real estate. And this year we'll do about 141 transactions, which equals about $35 million in volume and just under $1 million in commission checks. So we've really grown our business in a short amount of time. And I'm really blessed because I'm married to Jay, and everything. For those of you that don't know, Jay works with Gary. He writes the books. He's helped Gary write The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, The Millionaire Real Estate Investor, Shift, Hold. I think they have 11 books that they've written together, and finally The One Thing. And I was blessed when I started to have a husband who really encouraged me to get help along the way, home help and work help early and as often as I could, which was a blessing for me because when I started, my children were 4 and 5. My daughter had not yet started kindergarten. My schedule was extremely limited. I worked from 9 to noon for my first 2 years in real estate. And then after that, like a lot of you moms, I really only worked till 2:30. So as you know, that can be challenging to squeeze it all in and try to grow your business. But like I said, I had a great husband who had learned over the years the power of leverage. And so those of you that know, Gary Keller does these masterminds with his top agents. I'm not in there yet. But a lot of what he talks about is leverage. Like how can you get more help? How can you get more help? And I think about it, I think about the guy who started Coca-Cola You know, how do you build a big business like Coca-Cola? Because obviously you can't make all the Coke, you can't deliver all the Coke, you can't do all the commercials for Coke and run a big business. You have to hire great people along the way, and we're the same way. And so for a lot of you that are have a family life, you have to think about what's your home life going to look like? How can I get help there? What's your work life going to look like? How can I get help there? And that's a lot of what we're going to talk about today. So there I am. Yes. Okay, so we didn't have too much time. We only have about 55 minutes. So I'm going to spend a good part of it just kind of walking through my journey. I know we talked a lot about leverage this morning, but I'm just going to go through year by year who I hired, what my production looked like, and kind of the stories that I learned. Because I think for some people, you look at me and you say, oh my gosh, she does $35 million worth of real estate. That's crazy. I could never do that. And yet when I break it all down, you'll see exactly what I did and where I made my mistakes, because I made tons of mistakes. Then we'll talk about moving from E to P. Does anybody know what that is? You read the MREA book, you know what that is? Well, we'll explain that because I think that's huge. And then we'll talk a little bit about home who's, who can help you at home, work who's, who can help you at work. We talked a lot about that this morning. And then a little about counterbalance, because one of the things they talk about in the one thing is this idea that balance is kind of a myth. And I think for those of us that are, especially we have families and parents and things like that, we crave more balance in our life. And yet we really have to focus on what's called counterbalance, because we do work in a crazy business where sometimes you do have to stay up until 11:30 at night to get a deal done. I mean, that's just the reality of it. I mean, ideally, you're not doing that every day, or you're hardly doing it at all. And yet the reality is sometimes you have to do that. Okay, so these are my kids. That's Gus on the left, and that's Veronica on the right. And so in 2010, which was really my first full year in real estate, that's what they looked at like. Veronica was 4 and Gus was 5. And then this is their school picture at the beginning of this year. So this is just kind of I thought this was a nice visual representation of how my business has grown in the last 5 years, just like my kids. Okay, so I'm just going to walk you through this. And I would love this discussion to be somewhat interactive. So if you guys have questions or comments or anything you want to throw out, just feel free to raise your hand and ask me any questions. Okay, so like I said, I started at the end of 2009. I took my Ignite classes when my son started in August. I did not have my first listing until 2010 in January. And that first year, I did about 18 transactions, which for your first full year in real estate, that's pretty good. And I was really focused on what my one thing was at the time, which was agent-to-agent referrals. I'm very stubborn and independent. So when I first started in the business, I thought, well, I'm not going to have anything to do with Jay because that's his thing and I'm going to do my own thing. And then I realized, well, that's totally dumb. So I really leveraged my connection with him, and I went for the agent-to-agent referrals, which is still a huge part of my business. It's still 27% of my business this year. So this year was about $11 million worth of business was from agent-to-agent referrals. So I did a lot of that year because my schedule is, you can see I only work 9 to noon because my daughter was in daycare. My son had started kindergarten, so he was there till 2:30, but really I had to get everything done in a really short amount of time. And so I remember my first family reunion I went to, I had a goal of meeting 100 people. I got 100 business cards. And that's really how I started my agent-to-agent referral business. And I took everybody that I met that day. I friended them on Facebook. I sent them a handwritten note after that event. And then I put them on an email campaign, basically, a 12 by 12. So I send them just, all those people from 5 years ago. I think there's like 1,200 people on it now. I just send them an email every month, and it's really simple. It just says like, hey, I really thought you'd enjoy this agent this interview that Gary did with this top agent. I thought you'd appreciate it. And that's it. I mean, that's how I stay in touch with people. And then Facebook, of course. And so that year, because my schedule was really limited, I hired a contract to close on a per contract basis, like immediately. So as soon as I remember 1 month that year, I had 3 closing. I wrote 3 contracts in a weekend. And I was so terrified. My husband was gone for the weekend. I just felt so overwhelmed. I just did not know what I was going to do. I felt like quitting. I thought this is too much for me. And so at that point, I was like, I really need some help. So I'm going to hire this person to do my contract to close. And we talked a little bit about this morning. Who here uses contract to close? Anybody? No? Terry, you don't?
Production.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course not. I knew that. So that was really my first hire, and that was wonderful because it was on a per contract basis. I didn't have to pay for it up front, etc. Okay, so in 2011, you can see not much changed. Okay, so that next year I was working a little bit more. I worked from 8 to 2:30. And at the beginning of that year, I thought, well, I could hire a part-time administrative assistant. And so what I did was I saved up the money to pay for someone for 3 months of their salary. And I was paying them $12 an hour, and I was going to hire them for 30 hours a week. And she was what I would consider a mediocre hire. I really needed someone to kind of take my business to the next level. She was more of an assistant. She kind of did what I asked her to do every single day. And so you can see, because I truly believe because I had a mediocre hire that year, that my business really stayed the same, even though I got to work, 2.5 extra hours every single day. And at the end of 8 months, I just let her go. So then I thought at the end of that year, I'm going to have a big business in 2012, and I'm going to grow my business to 8 million. That was going to be my goal that year. And so, oops, I love this picture. Yeah, this is a quote from The One Thing. I love this. Success is sequential, not simultaneous. And I think about this a lot because I think sometimes we go to family reunion and mega camp and we look at all these people who are doing $60 million worth of business and we think, what? Like, how can we do that? But if you look at my progress, it's just kind of, I added one more person, added one more person, added one more person every single year. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, I have a huge business. But this is really kind of what I thought about that at first. I think a lot of us think of that. We're like, we want to be at like 60 million tomorrow, right? Okay, so in 2012, instead of doubling, I actually tripled my volume that year, which was amazing. And I contributed 100% to this hire here. So in April of that year, I was really committed to having someone there who could really move my business forward. And so I ended up hiring a wonderful woman named Roz, who's still with me. She's incredible. She took a $20,000 pay cut to come work for me. And pretty much as a result of her, my business went from just under 4 million to 12 million, that's a lot of growth. Okay. It was basically tripled the transactions too. And at the same time that year, we hired a full-time contract to close / marketing manager. So with 54 transactions, you probably don't need a full-time transaction coordinator. That's not enough to keep someone busy. To keep someone busy, you really need to be doing about 100. So she did that part-time, and then she started to do some marketing for me. And then I hired 2 buyer's agents because we have this great thing at the Southwest Market Center where you can have 3 agents under you with 1 cap. So I thought, well, I'll just get a couple agents, even though Jay was like, are you sure? And so I literally people came to me, said they want to work on my team. And I said, okay, which is not what they tell you to do at all in Recruit Select in the book and things like that. And so you can see at the end of that year, both my buyer agents pretty much what I would call deselected themselves. So I didn't end up firing them, but they both ended up leaving me just because I wanted more from them than they could provide. And
Did they leave real estate or did they leave?
No, they're both in real estate. They're both with Keller Williams.
Okay.
No, we left on very amicable
Okay.
terms. Yeah.
I just didn't know if maybe it was because real estate wasn't what they thought. It was.
No. Actually, the buyer agent number 1, he went into business with his dad, but I was pretty. My expectations were high, and then buyer agent number 2, she was a mom. She really just didn't want to work full time. She's like, I cannot meet your expectations. Like, I'm really sorry. I feel like I'm failing here every day, and it makes me sound like a tyrant, but it that's not how I work. They just weren't a fit for my team. I needed some people who could really get my vision and move forward with me.
When did you go through Recruit Select? Prior to 2012?
Okay, so here, no. So what happened here was, this is so funny. So when I hired this first person, I had Jay coach me through it without taking Recruit Select. And he gave me some good advice. And actually his assistant came over and kind of sat in some of the interviews. And yet when I look back on it, I thought, geez, I mean, I had the 3 lousy, and I was like, oh, I have 3 candidates at the end, and they're all lousy. You know what I mean? So I thought I had done it right, because they tell you in Recruit Select to have, you want to have at least 2, awesome would be 3 candidates. And I thought I did, and yet I didn't do the whole process. I didn't ABA them. I didn't want to spend the money. I mean, I did everything that you're not supposed to do. And like, look, I'm married to Jay, and he's like telling me to do it the right way, So, but I thought I had made an amazing hire when I did it. I really did. I thought, oh, I'm like the lucky few. I got it. I'm so good. So then really before I hired this person, that's when I took Recruit Select. And I took her through the entire Recruit Select process. So for those of you that don't know, Keller Williams offers a wonderful course on hiring people. Because for me, as an entrepreneur, I think a lot of us feel like we're good at a lot of stuff. That's the trait of entrepreneurs. And yet when it came to hiring, I mean, how do you know? How do you know if someone's going to be a fit for your organization? How do you know what their values are? Are they an ethical person? Are they a hard worker? Did they only say they're a hard worker? Their last boss said that they were a hard worker, and yet does that last boss want to get rid of them? You don't know. And so taking Recruit Select was just a big eye opener. I've taken it several times since then. And I would recommend that you all do it. There is a Recruit Select Lite, which is a 1-day course that's also taught. I don't know if I'm sure will be taught in Houston somewhere. And if you guys are thinking about it, definitely consider taking that class, because for me, it was unbelievably helpful, because I'm still a little mystified by it without that process. And then and to be honest with you, I did end up taking both my buyer agents through that process. And yet there was no competition. So they both had come to me. I took them through the process, and at the end of the process, they stayed with me. So it wasn't like anyone was competitive, or at the end of the day, I had 10 people that I was ranking. So there you go. So don't do that. Okay. And so then my schedule this year was, at that point, I was having some listing appointments in the afternoon. And when your kids are done at 2:30, you literally can only take a listing appointment until 1. That's hard. Yeah, it's hard to say to some, well, I have 1:30 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday available. Or I could do 9 in the morning, because most people, not everybody, but most people want to meet, 5 o'clock. So I got after school care for 2 days a week, which was great. I didn't have that many, of those transactions, only had 20 or so listings. And I was absolutely able to say, you know what, I take appointments on, Tuesday at 5 or, Thursday at 5, which would work better for you. That worked out great. Okay, so in 2013, we had a good leap. We went from 12 million to 21 million. And this is also absolutely as a result of a second amazing hire that I made. Okay, so this year I hired an amazing buyer agent. Okay, it's not on there. Okay, so I had my operations manager. We had a full-time contract to close slash marketing manager. And then I hired a lead buyer specialist. And I told this story in the other class, but I want to share it again because I think it's really powerful. So these 2 buyer agents that I had that deselected were actually quite good, and they're pretty successful agents right now. And yet I needed somebody with a bigger vision and who could take my business to the next level and who would actually be better at the job than I was. And so I started looking around. I met a lady at a Keller Williams event. She worked for Aaron Armstrong, who's an agent in Nashville. And I had the privilege of having dinner with her. And she was doing about 100 transactions a year with a showing assistant as a buyer agent. And I just was blown away by her. First of all, I just loved her, and I wanted her to be my best friend. And I thought, wow, she's really good at this, right? Here is someone who is such a high eye. You meet her and you want to be her best friend forever. And everybody said to me, oh, Brianna's 1 in a million. You're not going to find anyone like that. She's special. You're not going to find anyone. Nobody can do that. She's the only one doing that, blah, 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 blah. And I said, you know what? I'm going to find my Brianna. I got to find somebody really talented. So I started looking, and you guys know what you focus on expands. And so at a Christmas party, I ran into the wife of JP Lewis, who also works at Keller Williams International. He's a video production guy. And I knew his wife, like, socially, and she was just talking. She worked at IBM for 12 years. Super high eye. She's gorgeous. She's super fun. I mean, she's also someone you meet and you want to be their best friend. And she was just telling me a little bit, you know, she had this kind of discontent about where she was working. And she was working at home. You know, she's a real high eye. She had worked in the office, but IBM was starting to put a lot of people at home because it's more cost productive and all this kind of stuff. And she was literally dying a slow death. I mean, this lady was dying a slow death at IBM, being a project manager, talking to engineers all day in her home. I mean, she was so unhappy. And so I said to her, you know, have you ever thought about real estate? And she's like, yeah, JP is always telling me that I should, you know, become a realtor and that I would be good at it and all that kind of stuff. And she's like, but I make a lot of money. And so I don't want to go back to making, you know, whatever you make your first year in real estate. I mean, whatever. I mean, I had people working for me, so I definitely didn't make that much. But she's like, I don't want to make $35,000 a year, $50,000 a year my first year in real estate. I mean, I make $125,000. And so for someone like me, it's like, oh, wow, how can I hire someone who's making a salary plus benefits of $125,000 and feed her and have her be successful? And so I really kind of got my mindset on. We started having conversation after conversation. I took her through the whole recruit select process. And at the end of it, I was like, she's amazing. You know, she played competitive golf at Baylor. You know, she just everything. I mean, like, all the people on my team are they're so phenomenal. And she's definitely one of them. And so she got her license at the end of, after family reunion. So it was February of 2013. And at the end of that year, she closed just over about $7 million worth of real estate. Her first year in real estate, which was amazing. And obviously she had a team around her, and there's no way that she could have done that without the team, but that shows you what kind of talent she was. And this year, so at the end of last year, we met, and I wanted to talk about her goals for the next year. And she, you know, slides her goals over to me, and she says, I want to do $19 million next year. So I'm going to do 19 million. You know, and inside I'm like, gulp, you know, because for me, then I have to expand my vision to encompass her vision, because, you know, she's not the only buyer agent on my team. So I have to think bigger and have a bigger vision so that she's supported. And I love that about her. I mean, it's absolutely one of the best things about her. So that was my lead buyer specialist. And that's really why a huge part of why we grew so much that year. And then she got so busy, we added a showing partner. So she did that 7 million with a showing partner. And then this year she will do she's at the 18 million mark with one showing partner. And this year she's going to get an EA and probably a second showing partner. So she's going to have her own team. Right. And somebody asked in the last class, like, well, why doesn't she just leave you and start her own business? Like, why wouldn't she do that? She's already got a real estate business underneath her. And the thing is, if she started over again, she has to build everything that I did from scratch. And she was able to plug into our systems. And obviously she's very talented. And yet if the systems weren't there and the leads weren't there and we didn't have that infrastructure around her, she would have failed. You know, she wouldn't have failed, but she wouldn't have had the success that she did. Yeah. So then last year, we also hired an inside salesperson, because we do a lot of internet business. And that's someone who nurtures our leads. So we do a lot of pay-per-click. She does all the calling and all the emailing for inside sales. And then because we have this 3 slot, again, I thought, well, I'll just get a couple more buyer's agents. What the heck? And that didn't work out so well, because again, people came to me. I thought, well, I'll just hire a couple more agents. And so one of them left immediately the beginning of the next year, because they just weren't a fit culturally. And so this year, yeah, so this last year was the first time I worked full time. I work from 8:30 to 5:30 every day. And that's my team, some of them anyway. So this year we're on track to do 141 closed and pending, volumes 35 million. We're really close to that $1 million in commission checks. And then these are the who's. So one, like I said, one buyer's agent deselected. She was not a fit culturally for our team. Inside sales, again, he was talents, and yet we wanted someone who could take it to the next level, who was education minded and growth minded, and who would take the job from, 0 to 60. I don't want someone just staying at 0 or at 10. I want someone to take the job and grow with it. Contract to close, our lead buyer specialist. We had a new showing partner who's that, like, if you see her at family reunion, she's that 6 foot tall redhead on the left right there. You absolutely can't miss her. And she's amazing. And I have to tell you that she's the person that's completed our team for us. I had the pleasure of watching Dick Dillingham teach. And he talked about how, if this is efficiency over here, and I know some of you can't see this, but you go from being an individual to a group to being a team. And in this business, this is what we do. And this is why it's so hard to hire people, because you go from being an individual to just being a group of people. And everybody knows that if you just have a group of people and they're not a team yet, they're not all working together, it's going to be less efficient than an individual. But when you get to that team, which is where we're at now, it's just awesome. It's so great. It feels so good right now. I just walk in every day. I'm like, I love my team. I love my team. I love my team. I love my team. And then I hired another lady at the end of this year who is also amazing. She's just out of college. She's our listing manager, our personal assistant, and she also takes care of my kids in the afternoon. So she picks up my kids from school, watches them. So I come home at 5:30, and then she'll do like personal assistant type tasks, and she's also helps with the listings. So, and still working 8:30 to 5:30, and that's our team. So
can I ask who's
of course
salaried on there?
Yeah. So the question was, who's salaried on there? So the operations manager, she's our lead admin. She gets a salary. Contract to close gets a salary. Inside sales, a combination of salary and commission. So she has a low base, and then she gets, so I split the buyer deals 50-50 with my buyer agents. And if she sets the appointment for one of the buyers, they give 5% of their commission to her. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So she gets paid on both. And that incentivizes her, obviously, to set appointments. And then my listing manager, personal assistant, and nanny, she's also W-2. These are all W-2s. So I know I kind of went through that kind of quick, but does anybody have any questions? Yeah.
What does your operations manager do for you?
Mhm.
Like we're familiar with kind of, having an assistant that handles
Right.
everything. You're trained out your contract to close and all
Right,
of that. So
right.
what's the differences there?
Okay, so the great thing about our operations manager is she's someone who's extremely capable at doing almost everything. Okay, she's a high D. Those of you that know the disc, she's a super high D. She has the highest D in the office. She has a midline I, and she's kind of got a high C, like a mid C. So she's a D-I-C. And it's just a personality where she can come in if she wants to. If we need her to be a front facing to the public, she can bring her eye up and be a people person. If she needs to put her head to the grindstone, she'll go ahead and do it. But she does things like, she does all the budget operations. She pays all the bills. She manages 2 of the people on my team. So I don't have I should have brought my org chart. But she, and I'll sketch that out for you, but she actually manages our inside sales and our contract to close. So I don't do that. She helps with the hiring and training too. Her background's in hiring and training, so she did all that. She'll also do, like, we had a big event in the fall in downtown Austin, and she managed all that. She set it all up. She got the money from
Client
the vendors. It was a client event. Yeah, Jay actually spoke. He did his one thing speech. We invited all of our friends and past clients and everything. And she did all that. She literally did all that, except for we got the people there. All the salespeople got people there. She'll onboard a new system. When she first started, she put all my systems into place. I mean, I don't know how many of you are systems people, but I am not a systems person. I mean, I have a systems. I'm married to one, and I'm not good at that. It's not my thing. When I have other things to do, I will do it. I mean, I'm smart enough that I can do it and put it into place, but it's extremely painful for me when I have a lot of things to do. And so she just followed me around and she put a lot of my systems in place and she documented all my systems. Because if you guys don't have your systems documented, those of you that are growing your business, you don't really have a business. You really don't. You have a database. And once you document your systems and you have people in place, then you actually have a business that you could sell. Because my business right now is reliable. I could sell my business right now. And those of you with just a database, you don't have anything. Yeah. So does that answer your question? Yeah. She's a real high D. That's what I wanted. I wanted a leader on my team.
Wendy, are you looking at being a part of the expansion groups?
Yeah. Yep. So do you guys know what Jeremy's talking about?
There's a few that do, but there's some that don't.
Well, so, Gary Keller's an amazing visionary. And 20 years ago, he envisioned that Keller Williams teams would actually become like their own mini franchises and they would start franchising across the country. And it's a way for teams to actually increase their profit. And so what teams are doing now, like for instance, I would keep my administrative hub in Austin. So I would keep my operations manager, my contract to close, my inside sales, because they can ramp up still. They still have capacity, right? And they're a team and they're functioning together. And if I wanted to have a sales agent, say in San Antonio, not Houston, because you guys are all here, you're awesome. But if I wanted to have a sales team in San Antonio, I could hire an agent there. I would have my inside salesperson set those appointments for him or her, and they would go on the appointments. They would, show the buyers around. They would take the listings, and then all the paperwork and everything would be funneled through our hub in Austin. And do you understand how that could be a big profit center for you? Even if I had, say, 12 listings in San Antonio my first year. And so that's what big Gary's preaching to some of his top agents right now is expansion. And honestly, in Texas, with our huge, 21 million people in Texas, we could all expand in Texas and never, ever go out of state. I mean, the opportunity is phenomenal.
We can expand in Houston and not.
Exactly. Well, that's going to be our first. And she just said we can expand in Houston. I mean, you guys, it's like, yeah, I work everywhere. And yet you have to drive all the way to West Houston. I mean, it's a pain. And honestly, my buyer agents are at that point now. We have a lot of leads. And so anything that's happening in Northwest Austin, oh yeah, I followed up on it. They don't want it. They don't want those leads, So why not get somebody in the Round Rock office who's focused on that, who knows the neighborhood, who can actually deliver better customer service, and then have all the hub stuff happen in our office. So it's a genius. I mean, Gary's so smart.
Talk about your office space. What does your office space look like for that team?
Sure. So we actually have 3 little offices. We have one kind of big one, and in that one is my operations manager, the listing partner, Nanny, and then transaction coordinator, and me. So we're all in this big office.
What's 10 by 20?
It's this one's probably like 15 by 10. It's kind of a bigger office.
Okay.
And I have a stand-up desk that I sit at, and there's a lot of seats. And we have room. We could probably put a couple more people in that office. And I'm in that office because all those people talk the least, and I get more focus. And then all the buyer agents, they have their own office. And if I'm feeling lonely, I go over there and I hang out with them. So the 3-person buyer team is in an office, and then Anna has a tiny little office. She's got a stand-up desk in there. She's our inside sales, and she's got her own little thing. She's on the phone constantly. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I've been in real estate for 14 years, and I'm new to Keller Williams. I started in October.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And I got to go to Mega Camp. It was awesome.
Yeah.
But I've spent my whole 14-year career by myself.
Yeah.
I did get an office when I got here.
Congratulations.
That was my biggest thing. I hired an assistant, but she hasn't worked out. So she was with me for a month.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah. So where would you suggest, I'm so used to doing things my way and being by myself that I've spent so long.
Right.
And all the different brokerages that I worked for always put down having a team.
Right.
You don't want to do that, and you don't want to do this
Yeah.
or that. That once you actually go to Mega Camp and you start seeing how successful and how much more they treat it like a business than they do, you know, just you by yourself.
Right.
How do
Instead of a
I,
slave to your brokerage.
what would be the best thing for me, do you think, to get out of where I'm at?
Well, what do you think would be the best thing?
I don't know. I think the best thing for me is that I did get myself an office, and I'm putting more of a commitment
Yep.
to that, and maybe just finding somebody that I click with to do other things. But I almost felt guilty when I had the assistant of having her do stuff for me because I'm so used to doing everything myself.
Okay, well, we had this discussion in the last
Class?
group. Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get the guilt thing. Like, I'm so over all that. But the fact of the matter is there are certain things in your business that you do really well, right? I mean, there's certain things in your business that you love to do, right? And
Yes.
there's certain things in your business that maybe you don't love to do as much. Yeah, exactly. We're all like that. And yet there's somebody out there, the things that you don't love to do, that they will love to do that because that's their personality. Most people don't have a sales personality. We're surrounded by salespeople all the time. We go to parties with salespeople. We think everybody's like so fun and everything. The fact of the matter is most people aren't like us. Thank God, right? There are a lot of people out there who like the detail work and they like doing all that, and they're going to actually do a better job of it than you.
Right.
Okay. What happened? I mean, you saw me, right? When I got that operations manager who put my systems in place, look what happened. And it wasn't because she was just awesome. It was because she was like better fit for the job than me. Same with the buyer agent. And now, our contract to close, we do a survey that gets sent out at the end of every transaction. And it used to be like, oh, Wendy, we love you. You're such a great agent. And now it's like, oh, Jamie, we love you. You're awesome. You give us the best customer service. I read the reviews. I'm like, but that's it. She's just way better at the high touch. She's in contact with them all through that contract to close period. And she's just way better at that job than I ever was. And so you shouldn't feel guilty because, first of all, you're employing someone. Okay.
Right.
Everybody on my team loves what they do. They love to come to work every day. They love the opportunity to work for Keller Williams. I mean, Keller Williams, as you found out, is an incredible company. And to come into this office today, I mean, I know enough about the energy here. You guys come in here, you're like, this is great energy. There's nobody walking around like, rah, rah, rah. I mean, you guys have maybe worked at companies like that where everybody's negative. You don't like the people you work with. Everybody's got a downer attitude, and you come to work here, and it was like Keller Williams, and for somebody to have the opportunity to work in your office and be tutored by somebody, a professional who's been working at the business for 14 years, that's a gift you're going to give someone. And it's really interesting because I totally get where you're coming from. And I was talking to my coach, my MAPS coach, who was just, I worked a lot on my profitability this year. And he's like, I'm so proud of you, Wendy. Not only have you made a lot of money for yourself, you had great profitability this year. You also created hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of wealth for other people in your life, for all those people that work for me. I gave them a huge opportunity. So you need to reframe your thinking.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What kind of training, when you brought on your operations manager?
Yeah.
How did you Kellerize that person?
Right. Well, we have a 90 days to success, and it's all, the great thing about Keller Williams is they give you everything. They give you all the systems and tools to do all that. So take RSTLM, the Recruit Select class, drive to Austin, hang out with Mark Willis. He'll teach it to you, and then come back and hire a great person and then just plug them into the Keller Williams system. And there's a gajillion videos. There is literally a 90 days to success with your office manager. You can get training through MAPS coaching, and y'all don't have to do it all yourself. You can sign them up for Monica Reynolds' Perfect Assistant or whatever that class is, $99 a month. I mean, hello, no brainer to train your new person.
She and Terry did that.
Yeah,
If anybody wants to know about that, they went to San Diego. It's San Diego, right?
Yeah, but you can do it's a class.
But they actually went.
Yeah, well, Monica's amazing. Of course, she runs Chris Heller's team. But she does a monthly one of those math classes that you can get for like $110 a month or whatever. Okay, well, we do have a couple more things to cover. So if we have any more questions, we'll save them until the end. Okay, so this is a model that that was in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, and it's called Going from E to P. And if you're at any Keller Williams event or you hang around Keller Williams enough, people will talk about going from E to P, and it's kind of confusing. But basically, what it means is you all are entrepreneurs here. You all have an entrepreneurial personality. You have enthusiasm, you have natural behavior, you're spontaneous, you have a lot of drive. I mean, obviously, you come to work every day, you do what you're supposed to do. And but then everybody has what's called a fundamental ceiling of achievement, which means your drive and your commitment can only get you so far. Have you ever felt like you're just like, I'm just working so much and yet nothing is changing? I'm working so much and nothing's changing. And what Keller Williams teaches you to do is through training, coaching, and consulting, you can actually break through that ceiling of achievement, which is your natural, what you're naturally good at, and just become purposeful of it. You become focused, more strategic, you use models and systems, and you have accountability. And I would say that for me, these past 5 years have been an incredible journey of personal growth. I mean, Keller Williams will push you more than you ever thought you could. And I have grown and changed as a person, both my mindset and just what I'm capable of and my capacity for everything. And so what I figured out is like going from E to P can kind of feel like this. And nobody ever told me this. I wish I had a class when I was a new agent and somebody talked about this. But when you feel like you're overwhelmed with your business, or you feel like quitting, or you have like a sick feeling in the pit of your stomach, maybe you can't sleep, you feel lost and scared, and you're totally uncomfortable. That's probably when what you're doing isn't working. And so you either need to put a new person in place or you need to put a new system in place. And I can't even tell you how many times I felt this feeling over the last 5 years. I mean, I still feel it. There was a point this year before my team started gelling, I literally was like, I'm going to quit. I'm just going to quit. I'm not going to do it. It's too hard. I'm not going to do it. I'm done. Jay can just do his thing. I'm going to get rid of my business. I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom again. It's so much easier. And then once I recognized this feeling, like I said, I realized I need to put a new system or person in place. And let me give you an example of this. So this is a tiny little going from E to P. So I have a pretty small kitchen, and I have an older home, and we don't really have a mudroom or an entryway or anything. So the mail comes in, and invariably there's like no spot for the mail. So the mail goes on this little side table, or it's on the dining room table, or it's on the counter. We don't have much counter space. And so like, I don't have a system for my mail. And it was like, one day I was like, it's driving me crazy. And so finally, so I went to Amazon.com and I ordered just this little thing that had these slots that you can put your mail in. We also don't have space for a mail thing on anything. And so I bought this thing that went on the wall. We had this one tiny little wall space in there. And Jay opens it up and he was like, what is this? And I said, well, I'm going from E to P with our mail. And he was like, okay. But that's just one little example, right? It's like I was doing the same thing over and over again. I was literally moving the mail around every day, and bills were getting lost and all this kind of stuff. And then I was like, I just need a system. I need to make it better. So that's really what it's like. And, and this is also when, your team leader or your coach, or if you have a MAP coach, can really help you break through that ceiling of achievement. Because really you see this as training, coaching, and consulting, because you're not going to do it on your own. I mean, otherwise you're going to be like this wonderful lady who's been in the business 14 years, obviously very successful, doing the same things. I mean, does that resonate with you?
Well, that whole thing you had on the last page.
Yeah,
was
right?
That's me. Every year I get the same sick feeling,
Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I'm just done with this.
Yeah.
And I get back and do it.
And here you are
every
14 years later. So you
And
must
I'm
be
still doing it.
you must be amazing,
So,
right? You're obviously amazing. And yeah, so that's when getting help can help. And hiring a coach, getting a coach in your office, it's huge. I mean, that was one of the first things I did also. So, okay, so that's E to P. Oops. So this was I guess this was a little too big. Oh well. Well, this just, oops. No, I did something. Oh, there we go. Okay, so what this says is, I don't know what it says, I can't read it. But it's like, get out of your comfort zone, and as a result, if you don't get out of your comfort zone, you won't achieve your highest potential. So in order to break through your ceiling of achievement, you need to do the things that are uncomfortable, which you're definitely doing, and yet you don't ever go to step 2 or step 3, which is to move to proven models and systems. And that's the amazing thing about Keller Williams, y'all. They give this all to you. I mean, Gary wrote the book on it 10 years ago. There's millions of classes on it. mykw.kw.com. It's all there. All you have to do is tap into it. And if you don't know where to look, talk to your team leader or your coach. And the reason that this is all important, and the reason we had that long discussion about leverage this morning, is that time is the great equalizer. I love this next quote. I think my slides got all messed up when I transferred them to PowerPoint. This talks about the difference between rich people and poor people and how they view time. And what rich people do is they buy time. Okay, when you are hiring someone to do something for you, you're actually buying time. When you hire a housekeeper, you're buying time. When you hire a lawn guy, you're buying time. Time to spend with your family, work on your business, go on vacation, whatever you choose to do. And what poor people do is they sell their time. Okay, all those people that are doing your housekeeping for you, they're mowing your lawn, they're selling their time, whereas you as an entrepreneur can buy your time. And the wealthy know that time is more valuable than money itself, so they hire people for things they're not good at or aren't a productive use of their time, such as household chores. And I think once all of us get over that guilt of, and I had it for sure. I didn't grow up in a wealthy family at all. I felt extremely uncomfortable hiring my first housekeeper, and I still feel sort of weird about it. And yet I pay her a lot of money, and she's happy, and I employ a lot of people, and so kind of getting out of your comfort zone as far as that goes is awesome. And also, so going back to the time thing, what would you choose if you had 10 days to live and $10 million, or 10 years to live and $10? I mean, what is more important, your time or your money? Right? That's all we have. Oops. I guess I should review these. Okay, so we talked about a lot of these this morning, but this is how you can buy time at home. You can hire a personal assistant, you can get a babysitter, you can do mom's day out, you can get a college kid to take your children to their activities, Amazon Prime, get a pool cleaner, etc., etc.
Get a spouse.
Get a spouse, yeah. Get a spouse. Get a wife. I need a wife. And I have a great leverage list. So it's 121 ways to leverage. If you send me an email at this address, buyingtime.papasan@gmail.com, I'll send you my leverage list.
And you get it right away.
I'm leveraged. Okay, so you can also buy time at work. We talked a lot about these this morning. Logotournament.com. That's an online logo generator for $250. Designers all over the world will compete to create a logo for you. Brivity.com is the company that we use for our seller listings. Get a virtual assistant, design services, college kids, your kids, stager, etc., maps coaching. And there's a lot of new agents in your office. Some of you are new agents. I mean, you can get new agents are desperate. They'll do anything. Hire a new agent. Okay. So at the end of the day, all we've got is our time. And then really, what are we going to do with all this extra time once we have leverage? You really want to spend it wisely. And this is what I touched on at the beginning of my speech, which was counterbalance. I think a lot of us strive for work-life balance, but it's really not possible. I mean, there's no way in this business, or really in any business, where you can be done at 5 and have a perfect life and not think about your business and not have it spill over sometimes, but you can counterbalance. And you can counterbalance by, you can counterbalance by setting expectations with your clients and family around work, hours and days, and stick to it. I know some people that put their work hours on their voicemail message so people know, this is Wendy Papasan with Keller Williams Realty. All phone calls will be answered before 6 a.m. Or all phone calls will be answered, before 6 p.m. and on Saturdays. Whatever your expectations are around your hours and days, stick to it. Tell people that you have an appointment with your family if you're worried about what your clients will think about you. Time block for vacations in January. This is something that Gary Keller always teaches. At the very beginning of the year, get your calendar out with your spouse, or take vacations by yourself, and just time block. Say, I'm going to take 3 weeks of vacations this year. I'm going to take a week in February. I'm going to take a week in June. I'm going to take a week in October, and put it on your calendar. Because then the expectation is, well, you need to first of all earn enough money to take your vacation. And then secondly, it's going to be there. So even if you haven't planned anything, you still have that week blocked off, and everybody knows that's when your vacation is. Enlist a friend or hire administrative help while you're away. That's one of the great things about Keller Williams. We're all a family. We can all cover for each other, so we can take a vacation. I've met people in this business who haven't taken a vacation in 7 to 10 years. What are you doing with your life? Your work is your life. And then follow your schedule. That's what they talk about in the one thing. Do your most important work first thing in the day. And then we talked about this morning. Work at work and be present at home when you're home. And I know a lot of us are guilty of that, where we come home, there's unfinished work. I would rather stay later, get my work done, come home and be present, than try to be doing my work, trying to make dinner, talk to my kids, all that kind of stuff, because it creates a lot of stress in your life is what it does. And just turn your phone off. You know what I mean? Just turn it off. Just do it. Nothing's gonna. Yeah, if you're. she needs
Mine
help.
stays by my bed,
Yeah.
and it rings at 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and I'll still pick it up.
Well, you've trained your clients that you will work at all hours of the day. And believe me, if we called our doctor or our plumber and he answered at 12:30 at night and they thought they were getting a voicemail, that would be weird. Right? If you called your doctor and you thought you were calling the office and you were going to leave a voicemail and he answered at midnight, you'd be like, what? Oh my gosh, So just set expectations. Don't send emails at 10:30 at night. It's okay if you're working on your email at 10:30, but put them in your drafts folder and send them in the morning. How hard is that? It's super easy. Super easy. You guys control, you control your life. I did 141 transactions this year, guys. I don't work weekends. I don't work weekends. I don't work at night. Okay. I don't work at night. I have a lot of help. And then you definitely want to do this so that you have no regrets. There was a lady, her name is Bronnie Ware. She wrote a book. It's called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. And she was a nurse, and she's the kind of nurse that stays by, like a hospice nurse that stays by someone as they are literally dying. And so she started asking people, what are your great regrets in life, and took a lot of notes. And her notes became so powerful that she turned it into a book. If you guys haven't read this, I really suggest that you read it. But these are her top 5 regrets, or the top 5 regrets of the dying, which is, I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself and not the life others expected of me. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Okay, I wish I'd done more real estate transactions or sold. But I think that number 1, like having is, if you yourself, real estate can absolutely give you your perfect life. And Keller Williams teaches you how to do that. You can grow a big business so that you can actually step out of your business and express my feelings. I wish I'd stayed in touch with my friends, and I wish I'd let myself be happier. So that's it right there. That's literally what people are saying on their deathbed is important. So I think that's pretty powerful. Okay, so who wants to win a free autographed copy of one thing? Okay, so we have a couple minutes, so we can take some questions.
What's your growth plan for 2015? What are the things that are on your calendar for 2015 that you've identified that you're going to use for your professional development?
Sure. Well, I'm a total education junkie, and I think that you can really tap into that at Keller Williams, and you can go from knowing nothing to actually being able to speak in front of you guys in 5 years. Like, I do feel like I'm an expert on it. So this year, our goal is to close 200 transactions. Yay. And then as far as the classes I need to take, I'm going to take RSTLM again. That's on
so this will be what, the 3rd time?
This will be the 4th time. And then I think I took
But you didn't get it after the first time?
no. And then honestly, I mean, I hate to say this, but with hiring, you almost have to go through the hiring process and then take the class again, because until then it's all theoretical. Yeah. And then other things that are on my growth plan, I'm always reading business books. I do tons and tons of reading. Obviously, all the main events, mega camp, family reunion, I do all that. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm trying to think of what else is on it. Fierce Conversations is on my list this year. That's great. Yeah, as you have more people underneath you, it's good to have that. So yeah, I mean, I'm a junkie. I'm taking Bold right now. I do
How many
it all.
times have you taken Bold?
This is my 4th time. Yeah. So yeah, and I'm doing my Bold 100 today. Okay. Any more questions? We got like maybe 2 more questions we could take. Yeah. Hi.
What do you mean with E from E to P?
E to P.
You may have missed that. Did you walk in when she was going through that?
No, she said that she was going to explain that.
Well, she did.
I did.
You must have missed that.
Well, no worries. No worries.
There's a port right there.
Oh yeah. Well, but I mean, honestly, it is. And I just read The Millionaire Real Estate Agent again, and I would encourage you guys to read it all over and over again, because at different points in your business, a lot of different things resonate with you. And it was really just about maybe 18 months ago where I really got that E to P, where I was like, wow, this is what I'm feeling. E to P is like a feeling inside of me. And even just recognizing that feeling is helpful, because then you could be like, okay, well, I need this and this, instead of just feeling like I'm gonna quit.
I just feel like I'm making so many mistakes. I know I talked to my coach and they said, you need to fire yourself. You're not a person that can hire. I've hired people that do the crap. They're not meant for
Right.
me. They told me that because she used the D in the something for me, that I need to let go and just be the listing person and let her do what needs to do.
Okay.
It's so hard to let go. I'm the mom.
Right.
I'm the
Right.
yeah. I'm an eye.
What are
so
you worried about?
being mean. Being mean, yeah. That's what she always tells me. She says, don't be afraid to be mean. You're not mean, you're just honest.
Uh-huh.
And I don't want to hurt people's feelings or,
Well, how do you get better at something?
I've taken Bold. It's really helped a lot. I've done all the, the mega camps and everything else. I just need to take better control, and I'm having problems with that. Is there anything you can suggest?
Well, I mean, grow as a leader or fire yourself. I mean, I think if your coach is telling you to fire yourself, I mean, it's valid. I mean, there are people who are better at being leaders than others, and you have a natural affinity for that. It doesn't mean any personality type can't be a great leader. It doesn't mean that. But if you don't have the desire to put in the work and all the practice that it takes to become the best leader that you can be, and you want to let somebody else do it, then there's nothing wrong with
Just
that.
do what makes me happy and let the other people do
I mean,
their
that's
best.
the great. We all run our own businesses, y'all. You can do whatever you want. You know, you can. If you want to be about like Dee Schultz in our office, she was a buyer's agent for all her luxury business. That's what she loved to do, and she just hired out everything else. Yeah. So I mean, it's your business.
Gary fired himself.
Yeah. Oh, Gary is like the worst. Yeah. I mean, when Gary was in charge of everyone, he was the worst leader because he was relentless and mean. And, I mean, my husband works with Gary. He has extremely high standards. Like Jay will come home and he'll say, okay. I'm like, what's wrong with you? And he said, oh, I have to come up with my $1 million passive income plan by tomorrow. I'm like, ooh, that's intense, And so a long time ago, Gary realized that about himself. And he was like, I'm a visionary. I'm a great teacher. I'm a visionary. Gary knows all the things that he's good at, but he's not a great leader.
I saw that you weren't the operations manager. You're not that person.
No.
And I always thought if you led a team, you had to know the operations, but you're saying,
Why?
hire somebody that likes it and does it.
Why not?
I just never, yeah.
Did I just blow your mind?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like people. I like people, coming to talking to people. I hate systems. I'm not a detail person. I mean, I often read an email and miss like 3/4 of what it says at the bottom. I mean, yeah, right. Yeah.
I get in trouble all.
I know. Somebody will be like, why didn't you? I'm like, oh,
I didn't hear about that meeting. They're like, it was at the bottom.
yeah.
Alright.
So, yeah, hire somebody who's better than you. Because the fact of the matter is, you're going to get better customer service anyway. It's all going to be better.
Yeah.
And that's what you want, right?
Yeah.
You want to grow a better team. You want everyone to be happier. Hire somebody that's better than you.
And put in good systems.
Well, you don't have to do that.
You know, well, they put in. good
Somebody
systems.
will.
My
Yeah.
systems suck.
That's because you did them. Well, I mean, right? That's why, right?
Yeah, I just was like, what are you doing? I mean, and I'm like, well, I've been doing like this for 18 years. And she's going, exactly.
There's a better way.
Yeah.
There's a better way. Yeah. She's shaking her head.
We're gonna
Yeah,
simulate it.
sorry.
No, I was gonna ask something. So then which of all the spots is yours? I'm gonna cut that one.
I'm the listing agent.
Okay.
So I'm the team lead and I'm the listing agent. Yeah,
So
I
it's
do
your
the,
part.
not really, but that's the last part to give up because I mean, I'm high I, so I like working with buyers. Ideally, I want to be just the leader. I like speaking, I like coaching, I like helping people. I like lead generating. But now I do the listings because that's, if I had hired a listing agent right now, I wouldn't have any profit in the business.
Another thing is that I did the math, which I don't do very often. And you're not like $1 million listings. I saw your average was 248,000. So you're not like doing that. It's just doing the work every day that we're doing here.
Yeah.
I just was really amazed.
Did you all
by it.
think I was some kind of luxury agent or something?
Well, I just
It's
thought
my
that
nice
was
jacket.
just
It's
$5.
his pin, right?
But I was just-
No, our average listing price is about 311, and our average buyer is about 250. Yeah, we work with a lot of internet leads, and that's like 237. Those leads.
And it does this balances everything.
Yeah. Any other questions? I think we're exactly 1 o'clock. 10 seconds over.
We need to draw it.
Okay, let's draw.
Dig deep.
Okay.
Put it at the bottom.
I should have brought two. I feel bad. All right.
I'm gonna go back to this.
Okay. Donna Crocker.
I don't think she's here to argue.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody. It was awesome to meet everyone.
Everybody give Wendy a hand, so.
Bold people.
All right.
I'm doing mine in too.
So I asked this in the last class. How many of y'all know people moving to Austin
Oh, yeah.
right now? How many of y'all have family, friends, relatives, extended family, people you don't like that live in Austin?
I got all of those.
All right. So make sure you connect with Wendy. She's a great referral source. I know I've sent multiple referrals to her to get them all closed.
Yeah.
So,
If you want to come to Austin, chat with my team.
I would love to.
You can do that.
I'm gonna ride with her. She doesn't like to be alone.
Yeah. Seriously, come and just kind of see how everything works. Because I think until you actually see it in practice, it's hard to visualize. Yeah. Don't forget to get my leverage list. All right. Awesome. Thanks for having me. This was awesome. I should have looked through my slides.
well,
Oh, that's my fault.